Cristiano Ronaldo was so poor that he had to steal food from a local McDonald's just so he could have something to eat, while other players were so rich their families have a net worth higher than Messi and Ronaldo combined. Let's run down to the richest and poorest players to date, but to start, let's go back to Cristiano Ronaldo. Born in Madeira, Portugal, in a tiny house where money was always short. His dad, a kit man at a local club but an alcoholic. His mom, working as a cook and cleaner just to keep the lights on. And here's the wild part. She actually didn't even want him. Tried to get an abortion, doctors said no, so she went home, drank heavily, hoping nature would take over, but nope. Ronaldo was born, almost like fate wasn't letting go. Life after that, brutal. The family barely had food. Ronaldo himself, just a skinny kid, was begging for leftover burgers at the back of McDonald's when he was 11 or 12. Imagine that, Cristiano Ronaldo waiting at the bins for cold burgers. And with his dad's drinking getting worse, things weren't getting any easier at home either.
Very hard periods without the family. In the later night, like 10:30, 11, we are a little bit hungry. So we had a McDonald's next to the stadium where we live. And we always go to the back door and knock the door. Hey, any burgers left?
But his family saw that spark in him. Even when his mother admitted she thought about not having another child because they couldn't afford it, she backed him once she saw his obsession with football. At just 12 years old, Ronaldo made the boldest move of his life, leaving his island, leaving his family, and flying alone to Lisbon to join Sporting's academy. Imagine being just a kid, suddenly dropped into a big city without your parents, without money, and facing teammates who mocked his accent and even his poor background. He cried almost every night, but every tear made him more determined.
And I took Cristiano to the room, and I said, Cristiano, look, the daddy used to live here. And he looked at me, you joke, no? And I say, yeah, no, daddy don't joke, I live here. And he didn't believe. He didn't believe because what he see now, he don't imagine what we sacrificed, the hardest time that we had. He don't believe.
His talent was raw but unstoppable. At Sporting, he would stay after training, practicing stepovers until it was dark, because he knew hard work was the only way out of poverty. That gamble began to pay off. By 16, he was already playing for Sporting's first team. By 18, Sir Alex Ferguson and Manchester United came calling. The boy from Madeira, who once recycled boots and shared bedrooms with siblings, now walked into Old Trafford, the theatre of dreams, and run it did. By 2007, Ronaldo was nominated for the Ballon d'Or and even finished second, just behind none other than Kaká. But Kaká didn't exactly have it rough. He came from a completely different background, one we'll get into later. For now, the contrast was clear. Ronaldo, the kid who came from nothing, had already put himself on the same stage as players born into comfort. From there, Ronaldo's rise never slowed. Manchester United, Champions League, Ballon d'Ors, then Real Madrid, where he became the club's all-time top scorer. Juventus, a return to Manchester, and a record-breaking move to Saudi Arabia. Every step building him into one of the richest athletes in history. But through it all, Ronaldo has never hidden where he came from. He's said many times that the hunger of his childhood shaped the hunger on the pitch, and the sacrifices of his family, his mother, who worked double shifts, his father, who gave him his first taste of football, are the reason he never gave up.
And he knew it that I will be a football player. And for me, it's made me sad because everything.
Cristiano Ronaldo's story is proof that you don't need to be born into luxury to make it. Sometimes, having nothing gives you the drive to build everything. As we break down everyone else in this video, you'll soon realize just how rare Ronaldo's kind of story is, especially when you look at guys like this. Pique Bolkiah, the richest footballer on the planet that nobody talks about. Born into the Brunei royal family, he's the son of Prince Jeffrey Bolkiah and nephew of Sultan Hassan al-Bolkiah, whose family fortune is worth over $20 billion. Billion with a B. Forget bootstraps. Pique grew up in palaces, surrounded by luxury cars and with access to literally anything he wanted. If money could buy footballing greatness, this guy should have been the next Cristiano Ronaldo. And to be fair, he had his chances. He spent time at Saudi Southampton, trained at Chelsea, and even signed for Leicester City. With that kind of backing, most players would kill for even a fraction of those opportunities. But here's the thing, despite all the doors opened for him, he never made a single Premier League appearance. Not one. While players from the favelas of Brazil or the streets of Portugal were clawing their way into the spotlight, Pique couldn't make it past the reserve squads. Yet somehow, he still managed to captain the Brunei national team, without ever playing a minute of professional football at the top level. That alone raised eyebrows. But what really keeps people talking is the other side of his life. His reputation for burning through his family's wealth at an alarming rate. Extravagant parties, luxury toys, and a lifestyle that screams excess rather than ambition. So, where is he now? You'd think a player with billions behind him would still be making headlines in Europe, right? Wrong. Today, he's playing his football in Thailand, far from the bright lights of the top leagues. Proof that no matter how much wealth or privilege you're born into, money can't buy talent, hunger, or the fire to compete at the very top. Like this guy, whose come-up story is nearly as insane as his on-field legacy. Neymar Jr., the man who humiliated every Bayern Munich defender in 2021.
But yeah, Neymar, bro, that guy took over the game. Guy chopped 3 step overs, heel chop, scoop turn. Guys in the middle of the pitch, body feinting, nagging people. I was like, bro, what are you on? Chill. Like, chill.
But before the Champions League nights, before Barcelona, before PSG's world record signing, Neymar's story didn't start on a perfect pitch. It started like so many Brazilian kids, barefoot, chasing a half-flat ball on the streets, surrounded by poverty. His mother called him a happy boy, innocent, always willing to play, but the ball was his obsession. Life at home wasn't glamorous. His father worked odd jobs, money was always tight, and sometimes it came down to tough choices. Neymar himself once told a story. His dad gave him money to pay the electricity bill, but instead, the young Neymar bought a lottery ticket for a brand new car. He ran home, excited, but when he told his dad what he'd done, he got a beating. The next day, though, a car really did show up outside the house, but it wasn't from the lottery, it was from the electricity company who came to cut the power off. And yeah, Neymar got another beating. That was life, a mix of laughter, struggle, and constant lessons. Football was his escape, the one thing that made sense.
Você virando profissional, ganhando uma grana, qual a primeira coisa que você faria com o dinheiro ganhando assim?
Ajudar meus pais, minha família.
And they knew it. So, in 2003, the family moved to São Vicente, where Neymar played for Portuguesa Santista. Later that year, they moved again, this time to Santos, the club that would change everything. Neymar joined Santos's youth system, and as his talent grew, so did the family's fortunes. By 15, he was earning $10,000 a month. By 16, it jumped to $125,000. They finally bought their first proper home, right next to Santos's stadium Vila Belmiro. The boy who once juggled coins in the street was now bringing financial stability to his entire family. At 17, Neymar signed his first professional contract and exploded into the Santos first team. Sponsorships rolled in, goals poured in, and soon the world took notice. By 2013, he was in Barcelona, joining forces with Messi and Suarez to form one of the deadliest attacks football has ever seen. Champions League, La Liga titles, Copa del Rey. Neymar was no longer just a street kid, he was a superstar. And then came 2017, the transfer that shook football.
Now, Barcelona Football Club has given one of its star players, Neymar, permission to discuss a world record transfer deal with Paris Saint-Germain. The French club has been told it must pay, wait for this, the £198 million fee in full before the Brazilian international.
Paris Saint-Germain paid €222 million to bring him in, still the most expensive player in history. Suddenly, the barefoot boy from the streets of Brazil was living as one of the richest athletes on earth. But through all the controversy, the injuries and the headlines, Neymar has never stopped being that kid who played with joy, who wanted the ball at his feet and who believed football was the way out. His story proves that sometimes the flair and chaos of the streets can take you all the way to the very top. For now, we go to someone who came from money like you can't even imagine, Gerard Pique. Unlike Ronaldo or Neymar, Pique didn't grow up worrying about bills or whether he'd even have football boots. He was born in Barcelona into a family that was already financially secure and deeply connected to the game. His grandfather was once a director at FC Barcelona, his father Joan is a successful lawyer, and his mother, Montserrat, runs one of the city's major hospitals. In short, Pique had the kind of support system and stability that most kids chasing the football dream could only dream of. And yet, to his credit, he didn't waste it. He joined La Masia, Barcelona's famed academy, and quickly rose through the ranks. By 2004, he was snapped up by Manchester United. Yes, before he was even old enough to legally order a pint, Pique was already at Old Trafford under Sir Alex Ferguson. He spent 4 years in England, winning a Premier League and a Champions League medal, before Barcelona brought him back home in 2008. That's when his career truly exploded. At Barca, he became one of the best defenders of his generation. Anchoring the backline alongside Carles Puyol, he won everything there was to win: Champions Leagues, La Liga titles, Copa del Reys, and even lifted the World Cup and Euros with Spain's golden generation. Add in his business ventures outside football, from media companies to sports investments, and Pique turned himself into more than just a footballer. But as we go back to the broke footballers, we have to talk about...
How good was Mane, by the way? His runs, oh my, he would have caused me a massive problem.
No, same. He's the one player that I played with. I've always thought I'm thankful I never had to play against him.
He'd have caused me nightmare. He would have been my worst nightmare.
He was a perfect attacker, you know.
Yeah.
He had everything.
Yeah, the movement was unbelievable with him.
And a man who never forgot where he came from, and whose story might just be the most emotional of all. Sadio Mane once hated his own family. Yeah, hated them. Why? Because they refused to let him play football. That's how wild his story is. He grew up so poor in Bambali, Senegal, that a proper football was a luxury. While kids in Europe played with shiny Nike balls, Mane was out there kicking grapefruits and stones just to chase his dream. And as if that wasn't enough, life hit him harder. When Sadio was just 7 years old, his father, the village imam, passed away. The same father who never wanted him to play football was suddenly gone, and his family's struggles only got worse. But instead of giving up, young Sadio doubled down. Football wasn't just a game anymore, it was survival.
Quand il était à l'école ici, parce qu'il disait à ses camarades que moi, à l'école, là, je vous accompagne, mais ce n'est pas ma vision, ce n'est pas ma profession.
At 15, he did something crazy. He ran away from home. No money, just a dream. His family dragged him back, furious, and that's when he admitted, "It was the worst day of my life. I felt hate for my family." Think about that. The same people he loved most, he turned against because he believed football was his only way out. But the academy scouts wouldn't let this talent slip away. They pushed, and eventually his family caved. That's when the doors opened. Generation Foot, Metz, Salzburg, Southampton, Liverpool. Step by step, the barefoot boy from Bambali became one of the most feared forwards on the planet. And here's the part that stings. While others from rich families blew through endless chances and privilege, Mane risked everything just to get one shot. He carried the hunger of someone who had nothing to lose, and that's why he made it. Today, he's not just remembered for the goals, the titles, or even the golden boot. He's remembered as the guy who built hospitals and schools in the same village where he once kicked stones instead of footballs, the man who turned pain into pride.
Il a essayé de mettre son appui là-dessus, sur le plan des infrastructures, que ce soit sur le plan social. Il a construit une école là-bas.
Sadio Mane, the boy who once hated his family but ended up changing the lives of thousands of families back home. But imagine being the son of one of the best midfielder in football history, and on top of that, he's the manager of the very team you're playing for, yet you still can't make it through. When you hear the name Zidane, you think of genius, vision, elegance, passes that split defenses in half. But Enzo Zidane, he never lived up to that name. He had the same haircut, the same posture, even the same calm aura on the pitch. But when the ball touched his feet, the difference was night and day. Here's the crazy part though. Enzo Zidane actually scored on his Real Madrid first-team debut in the Copa del Rey. Imagine the headlines. Zidane's son scores at the Bernabeu. That should have been the start of something beautiful. Instead, it turned out to be his one shining moment. By the time he was 29, Enzo Zidane had already retired from professional football. So, What went wrong? Was it the weight of carrying one of the heaviest names in football? Or was he simply not good enough? Let's rewind. In 2014, Enzo started out at Real Madrid Castilla, the reserve team, coached by none other than his own father, Zinedine Zidane. At first, he barely got minutes, but slowly, he grew into the team, even becoming captain. His dad once joked and said, "Is Enzo as good as me? No, not yet, but he's 19. I hope one day he'll be better."
Dans la gestuelle, voilà, c'est
pas mauvais.
Quand je le regarde, je me regarde. Je me vois.
Super.
C'est la règle du jeu, c'est-à-dire que le fait qu'il soit fils de Zidane, on en parle un peu plus et...
That's the kind of pressure Enzo lived with every single day. And then came 2016. Enzo gets the call-up, replaces Isco at halftime, and scores. The dream moment every kid wishes for. But here's the harsh reality. If you can't shine in the games after that, one goal won't save you at Real Madrid. Enzo realized the same, so he left to chase his own path. Deportivo Alaves, Lausanne in Switzerland, Rayo Majadahonda, Almeria, Rodez in France, Fuenlabrada in Spain. The list goes on. Lower league after lower league, relegations, benches, and short spells. Enzo Zidane kept searching for that one club, that one chance to make his name. But it never came. And here's where the contrast hits hard. His father, Zinedine Zidane, had already conquered the World Cup, the Euros, the Champions League. He was the king of France, the king of Madrid. Enzo, he couldn't even find a stable home in football. At 29, he decided enough was enough. From scoring on his Real Madrid debut to retiring before even hitting 30.